Minister in the Presidency Khumbudzo Ntshavheni is briefing the media on the outcomes of the cabinet meeting held yesterday. Let's listen in.
The suspect arrested included a coordinator, shooter, spotter, and a person who hired the vehicle and the firearms. And earlier this morning, the suspects appeared in court for their first appearance as we continue with their prosecution. On international relations, the 37th African Union Summit, Cabinet appreciated the progress made at the 37th African Union Summit held in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, from the 17th to the 18th of February 2024, which outlined Africa's priorities for the 2024 and beyond. President Ramaphosa joined other African leaders in discussing key continental priorities, including peace and security, climate change, economic development, and Africa's role in the wider global multilateral context. The summit adopted the second 10-year implementation plan of Agenda 2063, which will see the acceleration of flagship projects such as the African Continental Free Trade Area, in which South Africa is playing a leading role. President Ramaphosa also presented a report on the continent's response to the coronavirus disease pandemic, COVID-19, and the state of readiness against future health risks in his capacity as the champion of the AU COVID-19 response. The summit also emphasized the importance of socio-economic recovery post the COVID-19 pandemic and lessons from the pandemic preparedness and response and continental security. President Ramaphosa called on African leaders to continue improving the levels of alertness of their countries against future pandemics and urged for the adoption of a strong common African position on pandemic preparedness and response. On South Africa's hosting of the Group of 20 or G20 and our presidency in 2025, Cabinet received and considered a report on the preparations for South Africa's hosting of the G20 summit in 2025, as well as taking over the presidency of the G20. This is a momentous event for South Africa, as it will be the first country in Africa to host such a gathering, not only unique because of the anticipated numbers, but also of the enduring impact it is envisaged to make within the African continent, more so with the AU having joined and being accepted as a member of the G20, an initiative that was also led by South Africa or championed by South Africa. Cabinet is confident that South Africa will deliver a successful G20 summit, as it has done with previous major events such as the BRICS Summit, the African Growth and Opportunity Act Forum, and the G20 presidency presents South Africa with an opportunity to champion the aspirations of the emerging markets. As it hosts the G20, South Africa's participation in the forum will continue to be guided by the country's commitment to advance national interest as well as those of the African continent, in line with our foreign policy of a better Africa and a better world. Cabinet decisions: the hosting of the 9th annual meeting of the New Development Bank, the NDB, commonly known. Cabinet considered and approved the hosting of the annual meeting of the New Development Bank in South Africa in June 2024. It has been 10 years since BRICS countries signed the articles of the New Development Bank at the 6th BRICS Summit in Fortella, and this established the first multilateral development institution by emerging and developing countries. So far, South Africa has contributed 25 billion rands towards the banks paid in capital. South Africa is looking forward to host the meeting of the New Development Bank and commits to working hand in hand with the bank and its member countries to achieve sustainable development and create a better continent, a better African continent and a better world, but also strengthen the role of emerging economies in the global arena. On the strategy for the development of social service professionals, known as the SSP, Cabinet approved the strategy for the employment of social service professionals as part of increasing the human resource capacity of government, non-governmental organizations, and the private sector to proactively respond to social ills that are facing the country. The strategy is a collective commitment to build a social service sector that is responsive to the needs of our communities and overcome social ills such as crime, gender-based violence and femicide, teenage pregnancies, bullying, child-headed households, mental health, and substance abuse. The strategy is also aimed at laying the foundation for a socially inclusive and resilient future and a caring society. On the Green Paper on Comprehensive Social Security, those of you who are looking for the big, Cabinet considered and approved the publication and call for public comments on the revised Green Paper on Comprehensive Social Security for the country. The paper aims to introduce a mandatory social security pension system that provides retirement, disability, and death benefits to all workers. Low-income earners would have their contributions subsidized in line with the existing provisions. The paper further proposes the harmonization of the tax treatment of older persons in the tax and social grant system to address the unequal treatment of older persons in the two regimes. In addition, the paper also seeks to propose institutional reforms to promote coherence in social security policy, making for administrative efficiency, improved service delivery, and ensure effective regulation, governance, and oversight across all social security arrangements. On a point.
All right, so that is the Minister in the Presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, briefing the media on various issues following the outcome of the cabinet meeting that was held yesterday. One of the things that she also mentioned was, of course, commending law enforcement authorities for the arrest of the 7 suspects for the murder of Keenan aka Forbes, as well as his friend Dibelo Tibbs Mutsweni. 5 of the 7 suspects, as you would have seen, appeared at the Durban Magistrates Court this morning, where the case was postponed provisionally for bail verification processes. Now, we understand that those dates of the postponement are the 6th of March, then the 14th, 18th, 19th, and the 27th of March. We will give you details around those, what transpired in court, and of course, those dates in terms of what then will be heard. We obviously know that some people that were behind bars for other transgressions will be remanded behind bars.